This podcast was brought to you by Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. They have tools that allow you to record and edit right from your phone or computer. It allows you to distribute your podcast for you so you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can even make money without having a minimal listenership. It's basically everything you need and all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Sorry, I was trying to set my mic and I started humming it's that song Amber by 311, and I always think the beginning sounds like boo-ga-da-ba-bo, boo-ga-da-ba-bo. It annoys my husband when I start singing it like that, but it's like I heard it this morning and I got the song stuck in my head. Anywho's, welcome to the Awkward Black Nerd Podcast. You are listening to Daisy King, that's me. And first off, let me start by saying happy Halloween to you guys. I know it's not till tomorrow, but to anybody that's celebrating today, happy Halloween. We don't, me and my family, we're not doing anything spectacular this year. I mean, kind of, if 2020 taught us anything, it's not to really plan for parties or anything. I know my kid has something going on at her school, and then I think all day Halloween we're just gonna do low-key stuff at the house. We're still probably all gonna dress up in costume and just watch Halloween movies all day, and I plan on just making some appetizers and healthy stuff like snacks and stuff throughout the day and whatnot. And we might I don't know, do tacos or something later that night. Who knows? Sorry, I thought I heard something on my back porch. It's weird. Either ways, so our Halloween is gonna be pretty low key, and like I said, speaking of Halloween movies, we're probably gonna watch we're probably gonna watch Disney Halloween movies like The Nightmare Before Christmas and Halloweeny, and I don't know, once she goes to bed we'll probably watch our other standard stuff, maybe the Scream trilogy. I know there was more than one, I know there was one after that, but I don't count number 4 as part of the series because it was hot garbage. Or I don't know, maybe we'll watch The Addams Family because I like 1 and 2. Definitely gonna watch The Craft, and maybe we will watch the second one again. Speaking of which, I finally rented it. It came out yesterday on demand, so I was able to rent the second Craft movie, and I felt like discussing it on today's episode. So today's episode, I will be reviewing the second, I guess it's kind of like a sequel, or some people say it's a reboot, but we'll say a continuation. So I will be doing a reboot of The Craft Legacy. It's a continuation of the first movie, which came out in 1996. Let's see. It was filmed in Toronto, I believe. It was written and directed by Zoe Lister-Jones. The runtime is about an hour and a half. It doesn't drag on too far. And it stars Kaylee Spani. I probably pronounced her name wrong. She's the main character, Lily. It also stars Lovey Simone from Greenleaf and Sela and the Spades. It also stars Zoe Luna, who is an amazing up-and-coming transgender actress. And it also stars Gideon Adon from Blockers, if anybody ever saw that comedy with John Cena. It also stars Michelle Monaghan as well as David Duchovny. They play the I guess the adults and parents in the movie. And overall, the casting was pretty decent, give or take. And I like how they updated the story. They weren't trying to I guess rehash stuff that we already knew. To anybody that's a fan of the original movie, they weren't trying to rehash everything. And you could tell the writer and director was a fan of the movie, but they decided to put their own twist on I guess this particular story. They did do a couple of callbacks to the original movie. They did the line, "We are the weirdo's mister." It pops up way later in the film, and then they also do the whole light as a feather, stiff as a board thing, which is, I think, anybody who's a fan of the movie actually has done that at some point. I remember growing up, when I watched the movie, I want to say middle school, me and my friends tried it. And like, I remember the first time we tried it, we were at like, I can't even remember who was there besides like, I just remember we were at my friend Leslie's house. And it was like, of course I was a token black girl in the group. And I just remember she lived with her grandparents and like, they were super like religious and stuff. So like, we didn't tell, like, so we would pretend like we were a coven, but we were just like, not joking around, but we like candles in the room and like, I don't know, like we all were into the movie. We just had to low-key be quiet because we knew her parents were grandparents were freaked out. And I remember, I can't remember who was laying on the floor. It definitely wasn't me because I didn't want to like really participate, or I really didn't take it seriously at the time. But like, I remember we were doing light as a feather, stiff as a board, and I shit you not, it was not storming outside. It was not raining. Completely perfect. I want to say it was probably like a Saturday night. And all of a sudden, we're like all doing light as a feather, stiff as a board. And home, like our friend doesn't float up, but I shit you not, like all the lights start flickering in the house, and then they go out for like a good 5 seconds, and then we all like stop chanting, and it, like the lights pop back on. So I thought that was freaky as shit. And then when I was like, maybe I was still in middle school, I want to believe I was in high school, because I think it was around the time where I started going to school in Virginia Beach, but I still kept in touch with some friends in Norfolk. And I remember we had another sleepover. It was like me, it was a different group of girls though. It was like my friend Erin, our other friend Brandy, and then our other friend who was also named Ashley. May she rest in peace. She passed away like a couple of years later. So we were all had a sleepover at my house, and like I think I remember like nobody was home. I think my mom went to bingo that night, and my dad was probably like, if my dad was still in the Navy, maybe he was like on duty that weekend. Either way, I know my parents weren't home, and my mom was coming back later that night, and we were watching horror movies, and we decided to do light as a feather, stiff as a board again. And this time we were really serious about it. Like I remember we lit more candles, and like our friend who was laying down on the floor, she was like around the candles, and we were really serious about it. And again, our friend didn't float, but again, I shit you not, the lights went out in the house. But what was even worse is that when all the lights went out in the house, my mom came home, and all she sees is a bunch of candles lit, and she sees like four girls doing witch shit in the living room. And I just remember her going, what the F is going on? So we're like, oh, we're just hanging out. And my mom was like, just go watch a movie. Don't do this in my house. So I just remember those are good memories from light as a feather, stiff as a board. But overall, The Craft Legacy, I believe, was like it was a decent movie, like, and it does have its differences from the original. Like I said, it doesn't try to rehash stuff. Like for one, in this particular movie, it focuses on the main character who's named Lily, as opposed to like all four girls. They don't like go into like other, they touch base on like one or two like characters, like they have their own stories, but it's more like about the main character Lily, as opposed to, oh, this girl's going through this issue and this girl's going through this issue. It's like they focus on one character as opposed to all four girls. And they actually, what's different about this movie as opposed to, I'm sorry, my allergies, as opposed to like the original movie, they actually have like a true antagonist. So I feel like it kind of gives purpose to them actually having like they have a true antagonist to fight off. So I feel like it kind of gives them a real purpose with their powers, as opposed to just using their powers to like dick around and like get revenge on mean girls. And they actually don't like get like, it's not like the typical petty revenge on, let's like, you know, gang up on our bullies and, you know, things like that. They do actually get revenge on like I don't want to do like too many spoilers. I'm trying not to give the whole story away. So like, to anybody that hasn't watched this yet, you know, spoilers are ahead, but I'm going to try to avoid as many as possible. But first technical spoilers, like they kind of get revenge on a bully, like this kid named Timmy. He's like a typical like male jock, and he like, you know, gives the girls a hard time, but they don't do anything like drastic to him. Like they don't, I mean, the spell is kind of drastic, but they don't do anything like horrible to him. They kind of like, they do their own spell where they get their own kind of revenge, but it's not like, but they kind of make him woke. I'll just leave it at that. So, let's see. But the basic overall premise is, like I said, they focus on the main character. So, Lily, this is a second spoiler, by the way. So the premise is basically Lily and her mom, Helen, who's, they move to a new town to live with Helen's new, I guess, like beau, like her boyfriend, Adam, and his 3 sons. And Adam is basically like, he's kind of like a therapist and a best-selling author, but he focuses on reclaiming masculinity. Like, he has that attitude where he feels like we should go back to the olden days where men were men, and, you know, children and seen and not heard, and women need to know their place, kind of deal. So basically, so when Lily and her mom move in with the family, there's like discomfort right away, and Lily feels like immediately out of place in a new place. And then after an embarrassing moment in school, she comes across these 3 girls, Tabby, Lourdes, and Frankie, and they're excited for her. They embrace her right away, and they're excited that for her arrival, because they believe she's the 4th in their coven, because they try to like call the corners for only 3 people for the longest time, but of course they need a 4th, so they're excited because they believe she's the 4th, and immediately they have like a immediate friendship while exploring their powers, and they're just having fun. Of course, they do like small things like telepathic communication, and they do things like freezing time. So they're having like innocent fun with their powers. And like I said, I think the only drastic thing they do is like they change the attitude of that school bully, Timmy. And let's see. Sorry. And eventually like with any like story like that, things eventually come to a head, and there's conflict within the group. It's not as bad as it was in the original film. It doesn't get that dark. I mean, it gets kind of dark, but it doesn't get that dark amongst them. They don't necessarily turn on each other. Like something like drastic happens, and like it kind of like makes the group split apart. But what's also different from the original film is that because there's an outside force, and they eventually like a true antagonist kind of pops up, it gives them a chance like to come together and finally come into their own, into their powers. So I feel like compared to the first movie, it's not as dark, but it has 1 or 2 dark moments, and it's kind of like a lighter version of the original film. But overall, I still kind of I like the fact that like the girls didn't necessarily turn on each other, and their conflict was based off of like misuse of their powers. But I feel like the way they did it, it wasn't like, you know, oh, well, these girls are going to turn on each other, and like, or, you know, it wasn't like as stereotypical as like these girls are going to turn on each other kind of thing. So I like there was like a better way that they presented the conflict. And overall, I thought it was a decent film. I mean, it wasn't as terrible as the trailer made it look like it was going to be, because I know I talked to like a couple of people that were also excited about the film, and they were kind of like apprehensive to watch it because the trailer wasn't great. But I'll just say the trailer doesn't do the movie justice. I mean, the movie wasn't as terrible as I was like expecting it to be. And I actually like the fact that it was progressive, and it definitely like matched with the, like, you know, today's generation. I sound like an old lady saying that, but like the acting was I thought the acting was decent from like the four girls. I mean, the acting wasn't like superior over the top. I mean, there was like a couple of like moments where like some of the dialogue was a little cheesy like towards the end, but it's a teen movie, so what do you expect? And the pacing of the movie was like, it was decent. I thought the dialogue was really clever. I thought like the movie overall was like really cleverly written. Like you could tell the person that was like the head person that was involved, like the writer director, was a fan and like of the franchise, and it wasn't just like a money grab. And I also like that it tackled like current issues, and like it tackled like, and it brought up like, you know, current events and current like issues that we talk about now, like the LGBTQ community. Like one character actually comes to terms with their sexuality. There's actually like a transgendered like character within the group, which I thought was like amazing, especially since they used a transgendered actress. who's amazing. And I like the fact that they actually acknowledge like trans women as being women. So technically she's eligible as a witch. Like, so that's why she's part of the coven. So I like that. And then also I like the fact that they're tackling toxic masculinity without like going over the top and like beating you over the head with it. It's like, I like the way they tackled it, because it was kind of like, it's kind of like we're still dealing with it now, but I just like how they put their own twist on it. My only complaints is like, I feel like some of the characters could have been fleshed out more. Like, I like the group of girls together, but I feel like you really only got to know the main character. And I get it, the story was kind of focusing on her, and maybe they didn't flesh out the other three girls just to move the story along. But I feel like because they all had such chemistry, like great chemistry, you kind of wanted to know a little bit more about like the other three girls. So I don't know, maybe like, I think it'd be cool like if they did like a series, like if they happen to say, hey, maybe we should make this into a series, or maybe like, because the way the movie ends is kind of like open-ended a little bit, and I'll get into that like in a few minutes. But I feel like the way it kind of, like the way they wrote like the story and the way the girls had chemistry, I feel like they could have fleshed out a little bit of the characters a little bit, like even like with the antagonist, like I feel like maybe that could have been fleshed out a little bit more too. I like that kind of like and I feel like also with the antagonist, like it was a little bit predictable. Like once you figure out who it is, like, and when you figure out like the twist, like what like when things start to unravel, like you kind of guess that's how it's gonna happen a little bit. And then also with Timmy, like his situation, like, you know, you kind of know something is going to happen to him too, especially since he gets, another spoiler, he gets kind of close to the girls a little bit. So like, you know, predictably, you probably like, oh crap, he's not going to last long. So, and like other complaint I have is that even though it was a short runtime, I feel like the pacing was like a little uneven at times. I did like how there was a plot twist with the main character Lily, which kind of ties into the original film, and it kind of leaves like it kind of leaves the story open-ended, like I said. But the way to kind of like try to like tie into the original, I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but basically, you know, she's related to one of the girls from the original film, and then you kind of like, you have so many questions about, okay, you question the timeline, and then you're like, okay, well, how did this happen? Like, you kind of leave, like, it leaves the story open-ended, but it kind of leaves you with more questions, which I don't know if it was a good thing or not. And I guess the only other complaint I have, because it wasn't a terrible movie, is that when it finally comes down to like the final, like, I guess like the final showdown, when the four girls like meet the antagonist and they try to like have their final battle at the end. To be fair, like, I get it. Maybe it was like, you know, they didn't want to go over the top, and they didn't want to like, you know, I don't know, make it like cheesy or whatever. But I feel like the final battle was very underwhelming. Like, I feel like they could have did a lot more with it. I mean, it was nice to see the girls come together and finally come to their own with their power. But I feel like you look at the final battle and you're just like, like, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like, you know, it could have been a little bit better. That's how I'll leave it. But overall, I thought it was a decent film. Like I said, it's considered a lighter version compared to the original. I do like how they connected it without like rehashing everything. And I thought it was cleverly written. I like how it connected to like, I like how it kind of it looked like it kind of connects to like this generation as opposed to like my generation who like are fans of the film. Like, if you grew up watching the original, you'll come in watching this one like, oh, well, it's not bad. But I feel like it'll probably connect more with, you know, people of like the younger generation. I feel like I sound like an old lady when I say that, but you know, it's not a terrible film. I mean, I don't know necessarily if it will bridge like my generation, the younger generation together as being like fans of the film, but I do like that it talks about, you know, female empowerment and coming into your own. And basically, like, there was a line that the mom, like Lily's mom, was always saying to her, where she is basically saying your power is your your difference is your power, which basically means, it's okay to be different. And I don't know. Basically, I think the whole overall message of the film is like, let your freak flag fly and, be proud of your differences. So like I said, it wasn't a terrible film. I just rented it. I was going to buy it, but it wasn't worth because I rented it off of Amazon and I wasn't paying $24.99. I'm like, I'll rent it for $20 because, I think they're trying to do a theatrical release in a couple of weeks, and I was going to pay the same amount of money if I decided to go to the theater anyway. So, I mean, like I said, it wasn't terrible. So, that's pretty much it. If you guys get a chance to go see it, please let me know what you think about it. You can leave a comment. You can also just send me random questions altogether. To anybody that's listening to this, thank you so much for listening to me ramble and be a nerd. But I wouldn't mind you guys just sending me questions on social media anyway. You can hit me up on my Instagram, awkward Blerd girl. I also have the Daisy Kane 535. That's my personal. If you're on Facebook, you look for the Awkward Black Nerd Podcast on Facebook. And you can also shoot me an email. It's at awkwardblerd, BLERD podcast@gmail.com. Because I would love for you guys to just give me your opinions on the review of the movie, or just if you have any questions or have any suggestions for upcoming topics, or just to say hi, that'd be great as well. And because I would love to do a live Q&A in a couple of weeks, where I read some of these questions, some of your guys' questions or comments, or just just to sit there and chat and stuff. So I don't know when I'm gonna do it yet, but hopefully it'll be sometime in November. And hopefully you guys stick around and listen to more episodes, because I'm excited about next week's episode, because I'm going to be talking about something that I've been a fan of for years, and I'm actually going to split it into 2 parts, because it's kind of because I feel if I talk about it all at once, it's going to be a super long episode, and I don't want it to be. And plus I'm going to be talking about, it's a musical, it's going to be a musical episode, and I'm going to be talking about 2 particular groups, but I kind of want to split it up into 2 parts at least. So I'll talk more about that next week. But I'm going to wrap this up. Hopefully you guys have an amazing weekend. Happy Halloween again. To anybody that's dressing up in costume, hopefully you guys have fun. To anybody that's going out, because Halloween technically falls on a Saturday, please be safe out there. I mean, COVID is still a thing, but also, don't drink and drive. Don't do anything stupid. And just make smart choices. It's not that hard. And hopefully the winter storm doesn't affect you guys as much as this. I don't think it's going to affect me up here. I think there's a rumor that we're supposed to be getting snow. I kind of hope we don't. And I think it's going to snow, but I think it's going to be further up north. And then maybe by the time it reaches where I'm at, maybe it'll be freezing rain, which is going to suck. And that's also another reason why we're kind of not going out on Halloween. We're going to take our kid out. We're taking her to a trunk and treat thing the following day. But we still are going to maybe dress up in costumes a day of Halloween and kick it. Because I still want to do my She-Hulk costume. I'm probably just going to do it November 1st. And then I actually have another low-key costume that I'm going to do on actual Halloween. I'll take pictures of it and stuff tomorrow, probably, and post it on social media. But all right, to anybody that is, like I said, to anybody that's going out this weekend, have a good weekend. To anybody that's not, still have a good weekend. Make smart choices and be kind to each other. Talk to you guys soon.